Hey guys, my name is Brianna. This is part 2 of the Q&A that I will be doing. There's going to be 3 parts to this. The first 2 are all the mommy related questions, and the third part is going to be some of the lifestyle related questions you've asked me, whether it's comments on videos or direct messaging me on Instagram or leaving comments on my Instagram pictures. So thank you very much for asking me all these really awesome questions. You guys seriously should be journalists because these questions were really, really good and made me think really hard. And they also make me get really chatty. So again, the disclaimer, get yourself a drink and a snack, and let's dive into the second set of questions. Okay, this question I get asked all of the time, but what were my favorite names for Presley if she were a boy instead of a girl? And it's really funny because I feel like we call her baby P, and it likely would have been another baby P. And this is definitely a name I think I would likely use if we ever had another little boy, but she was going to be Paxton if she was a boy. What are your favorite baby items for P? Is there anything new you're using this time that you did not use with Landon? The one new item we do have is the DockATot. DockATot kindly sent us a DockATot to try, and I really like it so far. I think it's really great for co-sleeping if you want to have baby next to you when you're nursing, and that's currently what we're doing. What are the differences between Landon and Presley as newborns? It's basically like, I feel Presley is what they tell you a newborn's going to be like. So she eats, sleeps, poops, that's it. She's very much like on the cycle of I eat, I sleep, I usually poop while I'm eating, so we'll try to like change her or preemptively change her before she eats. If she does go while she's sleeping, and that's basically her routine. Landon, on the other hand, take out the sleep. He basically was eat, 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 alert, 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 poop, 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 eat, eat, eat. I felt like the first 4 weeks was just non-stop cluster feeding. I remember being in tears on the phone with my pediatrician of just, it says he should be sleeping 18 hours a day. It's now 18 hours and he hasn't slept. Like, what is going on? So that I think was the biggest difference. And then it just made me, I think, just question so much of what I was doing. Like, I was nursing him. It then made me feel like I'm not producing enough. And whereas with Presley, like, I will feel my milk come in because she's sleeping for, you know, 2 to 3 hours sometimes. So I'll feel my milk come in after an hour, hour and a half, and be like, okay, I know when she gets up, I'm going to be ready to feed her. And it makes me feel so much more confident and empowered. And with Landon, because all he was doing was nursing, I was just in my head psyching myself out, like, I'm not producing enough milk. He's not going to gain enough weight. He's not going to be healthy. I'm doing this all wrong. And I think I was just so much more of a mess with Landon. Whereas this time I feel so much more like in charge and capable. I had someone ask, what is Landon's middle name? He's Landon Brian. We kind of had decided if Landon was a girl, what her name was going to be, and that middle name was going to be Addison after Adam, my husband. So Adam did say, oh, if it is a boy, because we had the names picked out before we even knew what we were having. If it is a boy, then the middle name can be after you, or you can pick out the middle name. So we did Brian after Brianna, since it's the male form of my name. And I think it did work out pretty perfectly because I feel like he's quite a mini me in like a boy form. You can tell me in the comments if you disagree, if you think Landon looks more like Adam, but I think Adam and I have both agreed he takes a little bit more after me physical feature wise. This is also a name question. What are other names you like? What was the other girl's name you talked about in your early videos? Some of you are so observant. It's awesome. And why Presley? So other names that I like, I feel like I'll do a video on this because honestly off the top of my head right now, I feel like I'm thinking of a bunch, but I'll do like one of the like 10 names videos, or, you know, names that I love that won't be using. So stay tuned for that. Sorry, that's not really answering your question, but I'll answer the other ones. What was the other girl name? So if Landon were a girl, his name was going to be Lydia Addison. So Lydia was our name. We thought we were going to use that name if we had a girl next. The more Adam and I talked about it, we sort of were like, well, if we had more, we didn't want to fall into something where it felt like, are we going to have to do an L to make it sound right? And we knew kind of if Presley were a boy, it wasn't going to be an L name. So I think we just said, let's stop, let's completely reevaluate. And when we kind of got down to it, Presley Jane just felt right. It was a name, I feel like I dreamed about it. He sat on it and was like, yeah, this just feels like the right one to me. So I guess things can change over a couple of years. We loved too how Landon's name means like from the land or from the hills, and Presley's name means from the meadow. They both have the same origin, they're both English names. So we liked kind of the flow that they had together of Landon and Presley. The why Presley question, one, we liked how it sounded with Landon's and the meanings, but we also are huge music fans. So Elvis Presley, he's timeless, he's the king. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is here in Cleveland. And we just felt like it was a really cool way to sort of honor the love for music in our family. My mom is also a singer-songwriter. And Adam's just obsessed with music. We said I love you for the first time in Nashville. There's just like a lot of special, I feel like, musical influences in both of our lives that Presley was just a perfect fit. This one was another name one. If you had a boy or girl next, what would their names be? Girl, I honestly tell you I have no idea right now. Boy, I think we would go with Paxton, but who knows, that could be a similar thing where sort of like Presley, we thought we knew a girl's name and then ended up changing it. If you had another baby and could pick boy or girl, which would you want? That's so hard because I've only had a little girl for 2 weeks, but I feel like, I mean, there's something so sweet about mama's boys. There's a mama, you're kind of like, if I had another little mama's boy like Landon, that would just be so special. But I also have a sister, so I also know how special it is for sisters to have one another. So that's a really hard question. If I was forced to choose, like just right now, if you're like, you have to pick, I think I'd say boy. But honestly, babies are such blessings. You know, that's what's amazing, and it's cool to know that if we had another one, whether it was a boy or girl, it would be awesome because either Landon would have a brother, Presley would have a sister, there could be another little daddy's girl, there could be another mama's boy. It really wouldn't matter to me. Did you experience the baby blues? So with Landon, I definitely remember there was a stretch of time, I think I was just feeling so down on myself. I felt like I wasn't handling nursing very well because he was cluster feeding all the time and not sleeping. With Presley, I definitely say, like even now, it's only 2 weeks postpartum, I feel like my hormones are still, you know, dipping up and down. With her though, and Adam, I talked about this, I feel like much more leveled compared to how I was with Landon. I felt so much more of an emotional mess with Landon. But again, my hormones are still adjusting, and you know, I think postpartum depression is something that family members of mine have experienced, which they say like that's something you should be paying particular attention to. So I do just, you know, I'm cognizant of it and talk a lot with Adam about like how I'm feeling, or really try to vocalize like, I need more of your help right now. Like, I'm not okay, I need more help right now. I'm not feeling all right, I need more help right now. Or I need 10 minutes to go shower so I feel like a normal human being today, and then I can come back and like tackle the kids. So like, I need you to step in for 10 minutes so that I can reset my emotions. And I think that's really hard. I think sometimes even taking, it's 10 minutes in the big scheme of things, but in the moment, I'll still even like initially feel like, does this mean I'm not a good mom because I can't just handle this right now? And no, it means you are human and you need a 10-minute break to go reset, breathe, come back, and then you can step in and be your best self. So that's definitely something that I think is totally normal. So if you're feeling emotional, if you're feeling baby blues, if you're worried, hey, I'm actually feeling really, really down and I'm having thoughts of, you know, I can't go on or I can't do this anymore, tell someone, ask for that help. Like, please, for you, for your baby, do not let that continue, and do not let it make you feel like you're not a good mom, because you are a good mom for recognizing that you need help. So just please keep that in mind. If you need help, no matter what it is, if it's help doing the laundry, if it's somebody to hold your baby so you can shower, if you just need help to feel better, someone to talk to, ask for that. Whatever you need so that you can be the best mama for your baby. What was your biggest struggle during pregnancy with Landon and Presley? I think with Landon, my job at the time was super stressful. It was also my first pregnancy, so I would just say, you know, probably properly managing my stress. I had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful associate who worked for me, who literally was the person who reminded me I should be eating and would go downstairs and, you know, get me food when I had back-to-back meetings and, you know, they were scheduled over lunchtime. So I would just say, like, the fact that I had that support to ensure that my self-care was good, I really needed that, and I really was struggling with that. Like, I needed that help and support. So thank God for him. He was such a blessing to have. And then I would say my biggest struggle with Presley, probably somewhat similar. I think, you know, there was definitely work stress. There's always going to be work stress. I feel like if you are working, there's going to be work stress that can affect you, especially when you are going through pregnancy. But I think with Presley, I just remember not sleeping as much. With Landon, I still remember I was getting some decent sleep, because again, I didn't have another baby I was taking care of either. So I think, you know, you just have more time to probably get the things done that I was staying up later after I would put him to bed to do too. So I think with Presley, my biggest struggle was like dealing with the stress too, but then also just feeling like I had so much less sleep. But I do find it really interesting that with both of them, there was concerns around how their size was, and they ended up literally weighing the same, 7 pounds, 5 ounces. So those ultrasounds, I remember being nervous before each of them, then they ended up being both very healthy sizes when they were born. What type of workouts did you do during pregnancy? I did do a video on this of what I did during the 3rd trimester, but I rode the exercise bike a ton. I just did a lot of stretching or yoga poses depending on like where my aches and pains were. And I would walk a lot, especially towards the end of my pregnancy when I was trying to induce labor. I was walking a ton. What did you use or not use from your hospital bag? I've had so many people ask this question, and to be honest with you, what I packed in my hospital bag, I think every item was used besides like one pair of pants I packed I didn't wear. But literally I wore all of the pajamas, I used the robe, I used all of my toiletries. There was like nothing in my bag I didn't use. Presley's bag was the one that was overpacked. So I think there was still like 3 outfits of hers that we didn't have her wear. She didn't wear, I mean, I had like 6 pairs of socks and like, I think I had like 8 or 9 bows. She didn't wear all of the socks and bows when we were in the hospital. And I'm actually really hesitant to even have her wearing bows right now because her head is still so soft. Like, I'll put them on her for a fast picture and then take them off because I don't want her head getting misshapen because of, you know, the vanity of wearing bows. She will wear plenty of bows once her skull gets a little harder and as she gets older, and we have a ton that are like stretchy, so they will last for a very long time. But I'm just nervous. I don't want her head to have like a weird line around it from bows. This one's interesting. Advice for boys versus girls. I feel like this is funny, but it probably has to do more with diaper changing. Boys to me are way easier to change, despite the fact that I know in the beginning they can like pee and spray up on you, but I think you learn really quickly. Like, you either take the wipe or the diaper and you keep that covered until you're like ready to clean up and take care of business. I learned that super fast. But with a boy, it is so much easier for me. I can take one wipe, even though Landon is like huge to me now. That is the funniest thing. When you bring your newborn baby home and you change your older kid's diaper for the first time, you're like, oh my God, why aren't you potty trained? You are huge. Like, it is just so funny. Like, he is so big to me now when I look at how tiny she is when I'm like changing her diaper. But it's like, he's got a huge butt and she's got this teeny tiny little tushy. I can change him in one wipe despite the fact that he's huge compared to her right now in size 5 diapers. She's a newborn. Girls, there's so many cracks, crevices. I'm so careful to be going from front to back because you do not want to run any risk. Oh my God, I would feel awful if I gave my newborn like a UTI or some kind of infection from not going front to back. So there's just so much more, I feel like, with girls that can get messier and is harder to clean, that I would say changing a girl is a lot harder to me than changing a boy. But if you are changing a boy or you're about to have a boy, just make sure you keep the diaper or wipe, you know, covering them so that you're not having pee spraying up in the middle of a change. Have you ever had mastitis? I've not had mastitis, but I have had clogged ducts with Landon. I haven't had any with Presley yet. And I just remember using heat and having to pump and pump and pump, and eventually it goes away. Were you worried when pee was overdue? Yes, I was worried, I was anxious. I'm just so grateful that everything worked out really, really well. Does pee look how you thought? I don't know if I really knew how I thought she was going to look. I sort of knew what the potential ways she could look like were. And I sort of had a dream that maybe she would be a bit more Italian looking at one point, which I think is sort of how she came out. She has darker hair. She has much darker eyes. Like when Landon was born, he had almost gray, green, blue eyes. Hers look like nearly brown already, or they actually have almost a purple look to them right now, because they're almost like this mix of like, it's like strange, but almost like a reddish brown blue, so they look almost purple. So I really don't know what her eye color could end up being. How bad does labor hurt, and any labor advice? I feel like I'm a bad person to answer for how things hurt, because my husband tells me I'm just not a good judge of my pain based on the little chart they give you in the hospital. I would definitely say by the end of labor though, it's probably one of the most intense pains I've ever felt in my life. I can't really say I've been through any pain that is worse than labor. But again, I feel like labor is such an individual experience that's a really hard question to answer. As far as labor advice, staying really well hydrated, I think worked really well for me this time around. My labor was super fast, and I feel like my recovery felt a lot better as well, and my milk came in really quickly. I think all of pregnancy, labor, and then if you are breastfeeding, and even just in your recovery if you're not breastfeeding, drinking a ton of water and staying well hydrated is just going to do wonders for your body and yourself. Would you ever consider a natural birth? I wouldn't say it like isn't something I wouldn't consider again. It was what I wanted to do for Landon. I just think both times now the epidural made the entire experience a little bit more enjoyable for me, but never say never. Okay, that is the end of the mommy Q&A. I tried to get in everyone's questions. Some of you had some similar questions, so I sort of would combine them into one question if they were similar. But if there's anything I didn't answer, leave that in the comments below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can, or I can add it to an upcoming Q&A in a couple of months. But thank you so much for all of your questions, and for watching and subscribing, and for all of the support and kindness you show in your comments. I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.